Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Car Stereo Talk. It's the Monday edition. I'm Dean. Gentleman over here is
Jeff, and this is Fernando.
Yes. And today we have another guest that's sitting in the wings. Some of you might recognize him. We'll add him in. We have Matthew Palumbo from AudioControl as well. And today, as promised, we are going to talk about something that has been long awaited. And we're super excited to bring in the new software. So if you head over to the website, you can download it. Go to AudioControl.com. Scroll to the bottom of any one of the pages that has a DSP, whether it be an amp, the DM810, 608, bottom of the page, and you want to download the new software, which is version 2.0.3, and then a bunch of stuff after. Who cares about that? But that's where we're at. And if you do that, then you can play at home. Because
tell them what they're going to win, Bobby.
We have, which I should have logged this one in, but I didn't think of that. So we might have to, hold on. I'm going to see how this is going to work. Because if I can do this. All right. Oh, I want to do that. Give me that. All right. So hold on. Maybe I need to. How you doing, Matthew?
Really good. How are you?
I'm good.
How's the weather where you are, Matt?
In my opinion, really hot. So for Washington, like 80 something is very warm.
All right, we're going to use that.
I think we'd go for 80 right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
I think you guys are in the middle of a heat wave, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a heat wave. I was just talking with Fro. I was talking with Pierce up at Music Car.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, it's like 68 or something like that. I'm like, what? So... All right, that's the one. Okay, I'm just playing with buttons here. Ooh, all right. So today we have the software. Matthew, you want to give us kind of an overview real quick of why did we do this?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been working on this for quite some time. A lot of you that are already, audio control fans or have audio control product have maybe even tried the beta version of the software. But basically, it all stems back to we're a company that tries to listen to what people want. And so we've taken the feedback that we get from social media, from the comments on these, live shows, from emails and Facebook groups and forums and all sorts of things. And, shows like Knowledge Fest, all that stuff. And tried to implement as much of that as we can in this current software. So updating it, and this is probably the biggest update I think we've done to this software since its inception. I think anybody that has used it before would agree. And we're finally going from a version 1. Whatever to version 2.03. So it's pretty exciting. Software stuff always takes a little bit longer than we think it should to get done. But every time you change one little thing, it could break 5 others. So, it takes some time to vet that stuff out and get it done. So there's been a lot of changes. And I don't know, do you want me to talk about what we've changed already or?
Okay. We'll just work our way through it. Cause I think
cool.
That way we only got an hour. So I'm going to do this, make you a little bit smaller, and I'm going to hide the audio control so we can see the top of the page, and I'm going to do that. Okay, and I'm going to bring up camera 4 for us, which is this guy here. And then I'll just put us in the top corner so we can all be friends.
It's high tech, man.
It's very high tech. And so you wanted to start, Jeff, where if you've got a previous product, you've downloaded the firmware, you've deleted the old.
Okay,
talk to me.
Now that you bring that up. Okay, yes. So in the process of going through some of the beta stages, right, and dealing with a lot of the problems that came along the way, we realized it was a headache for some people and we had issues along the way. But that was the whole thing, beta. Yes. Right? Beta is optional. It's not like you have to get this software or you're going to die. That's not what this was, right? It was an option for people to try some new things, and we put it out there so we can figure out what bugs were there and things like that. We had a private group of people on Facebook that also worked beyond the betas that were put out publicly. But so the software now doesn't 100% require you to delete what's on your machine. Okay. There's a lot of behind the scenes technology built into the software now to automatically scan what's in your machine and to update it to the brand new software. So we don't have to delete it, but I like to tell people to delete it. Now, Matt, I don't know how you feel about that. I'm just all about brand new from the start.
Well, I got yelled at, so I deleted it and started from I updated my computer this morning, charged it up, deleted the old software, uploaded the new software, and sat here waiting. There's a new software version ready to be loaded into your processor.
Yep. So once you click this here, it's going to go through some pretty unique steps. So what it's going to do now, everything that's in your DSP. Mm-hmm. So any tuning that you've done for months and years and whatever you've done, naming, crossover points, EQ adjustments, all of that is going to be saved. I think this is where most people in the beta, this happened and they didn't realize where it was going or what was happening. And then when the unit started back up, they're like, where'd all my stuff go?
Correct.
And they were moving a little bit too fast and didn't allow it to reload. So exactly here, it's telling you where this file is going to be located. We call it a site file. So that means it's on site on your machine. So there's your processor, DM810, and there's today's date. I try to always make it unique in case there are other files on your machine. So I would put like a DB.
Your make and model or something like
so
that.
Or JS behind
we put the
customer.
No, we put the car.
There you go.
The car.
Mm-hmm. Like so you guys only work on one F-150 ever.
Yeah, well, yeah. So we put the car in the equipment, and then the DM8. So we actually put the date first. So we actually flip it. We do date first because usually the customer will have an idea when they came in.
Yep.
And So, but either one would work. So we're going to select save.
Yep. Just select save.
Yes.
Right. And then what it's going to do here at this point is going to start the process of the update. Now, this is going to take a minute depending upon the speed of your machine, right? So this is going to happen. So, I mean...
It's happening, bro.
Yeah. This is one of those things that you just have to go through because it's literally going through a bunch of processes to go in to record everything and to slowly bring the machine up to date.
And I would agree with Jeff's point earlier. I prefer to always delete the old software first. I know, like Jeff said, you don't have to anymore, but to me, it's just a good habit to be in of just, hey, when you start something like this, especially a big update, a major update, let's just delete the old and install the new. I think that seems to work the best. So if people get in a good habit of that, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. I came across a guy who went to the big sound off up in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. He had the original software from day one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
And we were able to update it.
Yeah.
He had a secondary DSP that he just sent me. That's what I'm using for the video that I'm making. It was on the next version, 1.2.25 or something like that. Software I've never seen before.
Well, right? I can tell you the second 810 that we have over there that I updated was definitely... We'll get that one out of the box.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. So that,
I did find a screwdriver that I left in the box the last time I hooked it up. I was like, oh, that's where that screwdriver went. I was pretty excited.
So the update process can work on any firmware, on any of these units. We just have to make sure if it's really, really old, we want people to, save their files.
Yeah.
Because technically we haven't seen a unit. I mean, even before AudioControl became a part of the AMP family, there had already been a few updates.
Yeah.
But if people never updated their units, I mean, now you're talking about.
All right, so
you're jumping miles ahead.
Well, let's back the train up a little bit first. Now we're talking about updating a unit. This is one of those moments that it's like, okay, if the product is in your car right now and it is working and you are happy and it's doing everything you need it to do, there's no reason to update it. There's no reason unless they want to. I'm just saying if they're not a DIY guy, they're not playing with it. They're just it's oh hey they have.
If you're a consumer, if you're not an installer, an enthusiast, really, you just like to listen to your system. Don't bother. Just leave it alone. If it sounds great to you, don't touch it.
Like Jeff said, if you are one of those guys that like to tweak.
Well, yeah, but if you're a tweaker, you're going to do this anyways.
Yeah,
right. I'm saying if you're just wanting to do it because you want the latest, there's no reason.
It's not a mandatory recall or a mandatory update, that you would get from a dealership or you turn on your TV and go, DirecTV won't go any further until you do this update.
Yeah, it's not that.
one of those.
Yeah.
This is just.
But that's how a lot of people have been trained, though.
Correct.
Well, I think a lot of people too treat it as like, oh, if I do this update, it's automatically going to make my system sound better or be better. And it's like, well, it has the potential now to be better because there's more features. But if you don't know what you're doing in the software to tune it or change it, then you're honestly probably going to make it sound worse because you're getting into all these advanced features that you don't even know what you're doing. So if you're not somebody that knows how to tune a DSP, you shouldn't put the software on your computer in the first place, in my opinion.
Leslie, mobile audio. That's hilarious. Okay, so you just missed a message. It said your software is successfully updated. Now it's going to read what's in the unit, and then it's going to reload from that site file. Boom. There it is, just like that. So it's going to put everything that you had previously back into your unit.
Oh, this was in the G35.
Oh, really?
It said when it was off, it said G35.
Now, here's an example how Matt said we listen to our users, we listen to people at shows, we listen to the people that actually, give us good creative feedback. The screen you see here, please wait, this message, this used to be an opaque message, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a solid black background. That was a suggestion from Mark from Cardio Fab.
Opaque is solid.
I'm sorry, opaque, right.
It used to be a fake.
Translucent.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be translucent. Now it's opaque. So yeah, Mark from Cardio Fab was like, dude, this drives me absolutely crazy. In our little Facebook group, he was like, this drives me crazy. I can see too many things at one time.
See, now in my mind, I'm the opposite because now I want to cook on it, move it out of the way so I can see what's behind it. Yeah. So I'll have to. Look what Jeff did.
But then there's another guy. We gave him a beta version, and you know what he said? Man, it'd be awesome if there was a mute button right here.
Well, and he said 10 other things too.
Yeah, so, we worked on as much as we could in order to make him happy.
That was the first thing that I did when I was like, there it is, working. And I was like, ooh, and I go to the next one, and I can press it again.
Yep. So there's a whole lot of updating going on here, and there's so many safety features that have happened, and we're going to go into a lot of those. So remember before, if you were tuning, and I can tell you this from a personal experience, I had put in 6 hours of tuning this one particular vehicle for a manufacturer that AudioControl had graciously sponsored him with the DM810. And I walked past a unit and mistakenly kicked the USB and lost all 6 hours worth of tuning. Dude, I wanted to end everything. Yeah. I wanted to take that processor and break it. But guess what? All that's fixed now. And we'll show you how.
I'm going to. So we've done the upload. So do I have to do anything past this?
No. So right now at this point, you can see.
So can I restore to factory settings?
You can, but hold on. You want to verify that you have the current software. So go to Help and go to About. And that's how you know that you have the absolute latest software on your unit.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, if this is because this is not a unit in a vehicle, you can hit Reset Hardware Settings. And it's going to make it like it was brand new out of the box.
Yeah.
But with all the new hotness.
I was going to say, let's just do that. We'll get it back to, boom. All right. Yeah, because I wanted to show all of that because I think that's part of the new sexy.
Yeah. Matt, you want to do the input view screen?
Sure. Absolutely. So the input view looks similar to how it used to look. There's a few changes, one of which I noticed right off the bat the first time I opened it when it loaded was all of your a couple of things. You no longer have the input delay section built into this, right? We don't. 99% of the installers out there and installs out there didn't need that input delay, and so it was really kind of a waste of resources, and it was something literally almost no one's using. I have talked to Dean and Fernando before, and they're like, we've never used this, one time. But the truth about that is it could be helpful if you know what that delay is and you need to compensate for it, etc. But that's a whole nother topic we don't have time for. So we removed that section out to simplify the input view. And then one of my favorite things we did, and it's such a silly, simple little thing, is we added default titles to all of the input and output channels. So if you are kind of new to this and you don't really know which channel should I use for what, we've already labeled them for you to kind of tell you like, hey, if you don't really know what you're doing and you just take the time to load up this software and see that we've named input 1, 2 tweeter. Well, if you feed the factory tweeter channels into input 1, 2, and same thing on the output view, use those outputs how they're labeled, we've defaulted a lot of the settings for you. And we'll get into some of those settings in a few minutes. But, we've gone so far as to, like Jeff said, safeguard some of this by setting some crossover settings and just do some preliminary defaults. Otherwise, the input view is mainly unchanged. It still has an input RTA. To be totally clear, this is an electrical RTA. It is not a plug-in a microphone RTA. That's a common question. This is showing you visually what your input signals look like. So if you're someone that didn't test the factory signals coming out of your OEM sound system, you can click on all those input channels that you fed into this and play some pink noise and take a look at that RTA and know pretty much right away what it is that you're working with and whether you're going to need to do summing and things like that.
Yeah, another really neat feature now is that instead of you having to click on the input view tab and output view tab, if you simply click on any of the actual input or output channels, it will automatically move you to that screen.
I noticed that too, because when he was saying that, and I was like, "Wait, whoa! It did that. It wasn't supposed to do that."
Yeah, you used to have to click on input view or output.
Just way more flexibility now.
That always screws me up.
Another thing, if you go back up, you will see that the milk light, the maximum input level light,
this guy here,
that's only on channels 1 and 2. It works on all the channels, but the channel you really need to pay attention to is on channels 1 and 2. So that will let you know about the amount of input signal you have coming in from your OEM radio or from your aftermarket audio system or aftermarket head unit, right? Mm-hmm. Another thing is that people have to remember that on the silk screening of any of the D-series amplifiers and the DM processors, the RCAs and the high-level inputs are labeled. And someone asked me, why are 1, 2 labeled tweeter and not labeled front RCA? Well, they're the same inputs. If you're going high level, there are 8 high-level inputs, right? But there's 6 RCA inputs. So you just have to use a little bit of thought process in setting these units up. That 1 and 2 are your front RCAs, 3 and 4 are your rear RCAs, 5 and 6 are your subwoofer RCAs, or if you're using a high-level scenario, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Or, magic question, what's input 7 and 8 if you're not using high-level input?
Those would be your digital input.
Those are your digital inputs.
And your ACBT24.
Yeah, your ACBT24, your coax digital input, and your Toslink input as well.
Yeah. And so we have pink noise playing. We can slow it down. So this will give us an idea of what's coming in from the source unit that we're using.
Yep. All right. So let's go over to output view.
Output view.
All right. So output view, one of the big things that changed here in output view is that, like Matt said, we have the preset titles, right? So we have selections already pre-made, tweeter, mid-range, mid-bass, because typically if you're using the 810, you're not normally just doing a front and rear system. You're doing something pretty big and beefy, right? You're doing a 2-way set, front and rear, 3-way set with rears. You're doing, something really complicated. So we gave you the ability to have a standard system process built into the unit from the jump. So inputs 1 and 2 are already pre-crossed over at 3.5K at 24 dB Linkwitz-Riley. Then you have your mid-range channels that are pre-band passed, 300 to 3.5K. Then you have your mid-bass channels that are crossed over at 300 to 90. Then you have your rear channels that are high-passed at 90 up. Then you have center channel, which you may or may not use, that can also be relabeled as a subwoofer. And then you can actually link 9 and 10 together, and you can have stereo subwoofer outputs as well. And that's going to be crossed over at 90 and down from factory at that point.
I pressed the link button.
Okay, so you're linking the 2 output channels together.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I can't see. It's so dark.
It's going to take a second.
I just wanted to show.
Yeah, just the processes of what's there. Some of the other things that change along the way as well is the on the far left, you have signal summing now. Previously, it was called output summing.
Yes,
right?
output summing. Yep.
And that was extremely confusing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because it just did not make sense which channels you needed. And this is only for technically a high level scenario. If you need to blend a mid-range and tweeter together from a factory system that's pre-crossed over from like a Bose system, something like that, you need to be able to sum those channels back together. So that's how you pick and choose which channels are going to go out to the output channels. If the entire system is being run off of Bluetooth, coax digital, or optical input, then you would choose your inputs for every channel as 7 and 8, right?
Yes.
But this also allows you to have, now with the update, you can have different crossovers on different presets and different input settings for different presets. So if someone has a portable media player, or if they want a dedicated Bluetooth input, right? So if they have like a FiO or any of the other Astel and Kern drive portable high-res players, they can go Toslink or coax digital out of those into that and have a dedicated setting versus their factory head unit or their entry-level aftermarket head unit. It's totally selectable and addressable now. It's really neat.
And those crossover points were a big deal. I mean, that was something we used to get asked a lot about, is how come I can't have different crossover points per preset? And it was really kind of a safety measure on our part. It was like, well, we don't want somebody to switch to preset 2, not having set up those crossovers, and then, you know, in an active system, blow a tweeter or something like that. And we've just gotten asked for it so much. And I think people have become more familiar with DSPs in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years that now people are kind of ready for that. And that's fine. But our way of still kind of safeguarding that was these preset crossover points. So if they do nothing but follow those little, labels that are up there when they hook up the system, if they were pretty new to this, they could at least, be ensured that they're not going to blow a speaker or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of those things, like Matt said, you'd be surprised how many people have other DSPs that they've turned on for the very first time and instantly smoke something because the tweeter didn't have the right crossover point, because, whatever happened, they're running 500 hertz. I forgot about that time. Sorry.
I didn't do it.
500 hertz. We talked about.
No. I had a bandpass on the tweeter.
Yes.
So I had it 5,000 with 350. Yeah. So there's no sound.
No sound.
Yep. But no, as far as jacking it up. Oh no, that believe it or not, because most people get in the car and you just want to make sure there's sound.
Correct.
And so you'll turn it on and not realize that there's no safety on the tweeters at all, and everything is just running around with this, around the ankles, going, hey.
Yep.
No crossovers. Bad news.
So that's something new. There's a lot of little small intricate things that were changed. Previously, the crossover didn't have the titles: high pass, Linkwitz Riley; low pass, Linkwitz Riley. It just had your crossovers for left and right. You didn't know exactly where you were going with this. Then also, what you're clicking here, we also have now implemented an 18 dB per octave Butterworth crossover, where previously you only had the options for 12 and 24 Linkwitz Riley. Some people like Butterworth, depending upon depending upon the location and the way someone's setting up their system or the response of their drivers. Sometimes some people like to use Butterworth, in those applications. The other really unique thing about the crossover is that now you can actually select bypass. Yeah. So there's no longer going to be a 20K stuck on the
slide the slider all the way to the left.
Yep. And if you don't want the subsonic on the very low end, of a sub box, now you can shut that off and go completely bypass.
And that, again, is one of those features that is purely driven by feedback from users, where they go, hey, I don't want to roll anything off at 20 hertz at 12 dB. I want no roll off, no subsonic whatsoever. Okay, fine. It's not something I would probably recommend, but if that's what they want to do, let them do it. And it's the same on the high end too.
Into my episode.
Exactly.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on the high end too, though, where, hey, I'm doing a high res system and I'm not going to use your guys' DSP because you're limiting me at 20K. Now that's not a problem. Now you can grab that right
Or I
side
got
slider and drag it all the way up to bypass.
18s in a fourth order, and I can't do hair tricks.
Right.
Because you guys are stuck at
You
25.
got that PFM filter turned on.
Yep.
The heck.
So that's what's going on there as far as the crossover goes. Remote level, remote volume. This is where you set up your ACR3. So depending upon what channels you want the ACR3 to control for volume level, you turn that on according to those channels. Predominantly, it's going to be sub-level, so you would turn that on the sub-channels. But in the scenario, so now that you think about it, now that we have all this new update, everything's working totally fine, you can put one of these into a hot rod, into an old school, into whatever you could think of, and the ACBT24 can be your source unit into it, and now the ACR3 can be your master volume for the entire system.
What's really cool about that too is the ACR level can be set differently based on each preset. So if you want on preset number 1, it's your aftermarket or your factory source unit, but on preset number 2, it's BT24. Well, maybe preset number 2 and you're streaming straight to the DSP, you want the ACR3 to be a master volume, you can do that, right? So we can not only change crossover points and signal summing and everything else, but you can also change that remote level assignment, so to speak, how that knob is used based on the preset.
So really, if what I'm getting from this is that I can use preset 2, like I have now, I have the digital input set up as 7 and 8, and I just went through and I select remote level for all channels. Now, if I go back to my preset 1, which would be, let's say, my other source unit, and I have the subwoofer, I have the level control, I could turn that on 9 and 10.
Yep.
And if I save that, so if I'm listening to...
I've never tried this, but I know where you're going.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird, but technically it would work because it's just going to be... The only downside would be if I'm using it as a bass knob on preset 1, I would need to turn it down.
Well, that's why when you go to preset 2, you set the level down for when you start there, so you can go back to preset 2.
Let me save this. Yes. It's 2 fingers and hold. It saves. It's okay.
On the number itself.
Press and hold. I can always.
Yeah, press and hold.
Yeah, press and hold. All right. So I'm on back on this. So where am I?
So your level is the slider.
So you have master volume.
Yep. So
this.
You're going to bring.
So this one?
Yes, that's your output level.
Okay.
Yep. So now when you would switch back to 1.
Go Windows. All right, so we go back over here.
Oh, you got to save that.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I don't. Working on it.
Yep, save that. See now, whoop, bass all the way
so there you go.
Nice.
All right, so then technically, wow, we found a new feature.
Yep.
All right.
Matt, you want to cover delay in AccuBASS?
Sure. Yeah, so the delay section, there's a few things here, that were changed. We've always had signal delay, of course. It's already, the math and everything's done for you. There's no need to bust out your calculator or look up the formula for finding, converting inches to milliseconds or any of that. Basically, measure the distance from your ear or from driver's headrest or whatever your method is to each channel, and enter those inches off to the right there, or drag the slider. You can also manually enter them if you don't like the sliders. You can click in the little box, type it in yourself. That's totally fine. And then away you go. Now, the cool thing there too is, again, going back to presets, of course, preset 1 maybe is just set up for a driver tune. Preset 2 is set up for, no time correction or stereo or whatever you want to do. But one of the other cool things is now you have the ability to flip your each channel individually. In the past, if you clicked the 180-degree button, it would flip the phase or polarity phase, I should say, of that speaker, of those channels together compared to the other outputs, which, to be honest, not that useful. 9 times out of 10, it's like, hey, I think I have one speaker out of phase. Let me flip the one speaker and see if it sounds better or does what I need it to do. Now you can get it to do So again, why did it used to flip both channels? I can't answer that. That was probably an engineering decision that somebody didn't think through. But now you can flip them individually the way you would hope.
Well, if you're going to get it wrong, you get them both wrong, right? You never get just get it wrong.
So to piggyback on what Matt said, if you go to tools is where, depending upon where you are, so you can have it set for inches or centimeters. Inches and centimeters will automatically calculate the time correction for you. If you're an expert or a pro or using some fancy tuning device, then you switch over to milliseconds and you do all the math yourself. But when you switch over to milliseconds, you need to zero out all of the time correction that's there, because it uses the milliseconds in order to do the math calculation independently for any of the measurement sections. So centimeters, inches, auto calculating. If you set it to milliseconds, you do the math yourself.
And you cycle through it to change it. So
Correct.
Every time you go through it, it goes inch,
Just
centimeter,
click.
just like
Yep.
I just did.
And if you do the automatic calculating in inches or centimeters, and then you switch over to milliseconds and then switch back, you got to start all over, because it thinks you want to do it the pro way or you want to do the math yourself. And then if you go back, they're like, well, you're starting all over again. So you're going to have to do the measurement. It's not going to retain if you've gone through the whole cycle.
Oh, no, I kept it. It's still 32.
Did you go all the way up to milliseconds?
Yeah. I cycled all the way through.
I didn't want you to do it. So
Yeah, no, I'm cycled all the way through. I think if you were to like
Make
do-
an
make
adjustment.
an adjustment,
Yeah, do it one more time. I want to see this.
yeah. So tools, centimeters, and then milliseconds, and then see it adjusted it, but then I go back to inches.
Boom! There you go. See, I fixed that one for you. You didn't even see me do it.
That was magic.
Thanks, Matt, for fixing that.
So one
Yep. No problem.
tip, as it were, if you are going to be using, like, you do get a tweeter or mid-range or something like that backwards, and you're like, I'm just going to click this 180, do yourself a favor, after the fact, go back and fix the wiring and put it back to 0. This is a great let's keep moving button.
Yep.
Or it's a great, I just want to, while I'm sitting in the car, flip these in and out of polarity to see. And that's where the one button to do everything probably comes handy. Like if I flip both my mid-range.
And I'm sure that's what they were thinking was like, I'm just going to flip both tweeters real quick or whatever. But this is great for like, hey, this car's coming back in a week anyway for that trim panel. And we found we have a speaker backwards. Let's flip it in the software for now. And we'll physically fix it when it comes back next week. Like, that's how I view that.
That'll never happen. That'll never happen.
Hey, come on now.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
AccuBASS. So AccuBASS, we know what AccuBASS is. You guys just did a great video the other week on how to recognize when you need to use AccuBASS in the system.
Yeah.
So AccuBASS is digital, of course, within the DM810, 608, and the 4800, 51300, 6100, right? So what's really neat about this area here is that it's full block all the way across the unit itself, and you can turn it off and on or bypass it and set your thresholds and things like that.
So is that on or off?
When the
That's
bypass is illuminated, that means off.
Correct. That means AccuBASS is bypassed. The
So
bypass is on, so AccuBASS is off.
So this is bypass now?
Yes.
Maybe we'll change that one day to say AccuBASS on, AccuBASS off instead of bypass. But for now, yes, you are bypassing AccuBASS. You're basically activating the feature whenever the little box is lit up that bluish purple color, whatever.
So this is on now. So this is working?
No, that's
so no, AccuBASS would be defeated right now.
that's
okay,
bypass.
so that's off. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That's why it comes default enabled.
Okay.
So now go up to Tools and go down to Enable All Pass Filters. Ooh.
Bum, bum, bum.
So now you just shrunk down the box for AccuBASS, and now you have the ability to add up to 2 All Pass filters per output channel.
Yes.
Now, just to be clear, when using all pass filters in a system where there's an aftermarket radio or a set of preamps, or then don't turn this on just to turn it on.
No. So if you're using all pass filters in a aftermarket radio scenario, 9 times out of 10, you should be tuning a car to have a good 2-seat tune, right? You should be using it in order to make the passenger side sound as close as possible to having a good equal sound stage on both sides of the car,
This is my skeptical look, by the way.
right?
Yeah, sure.
So it's going to Because when you tuned a car really nice for the driver's seat, then you get over in the passenger seat, it sounds like
sounded like when it came in.
Right? It sounds like it sounds horrible, right? But at least when someone has the knowledge of how to actually apply an all-pass filter in order to tune or in order to make the passenger side sound a bit better, you now have the ability in order to add that into the system. Now, if you're actually doing an OEM system that already has an all-pass filter engaged on the passenger side typically, and you want to tune this vehicle for the driver's seat only, that's when you implement an all-pass filter in order to negate the factory all-pass so that you can apply time correction and everything for a single seat system. All-pass filters is like the buzzword in the industry right now. Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't understand them, don't use them if you don't have the ability, right? If you want to create a single seat system and you have correctly identified the factory system has an all-pass filter in it, now you have the ability to negate that factory all-pass filter in order to add the correct tuning for a single seat system.
So question.
Yes.
If I'm on my input viewer and I have inputs 1 and 2 and I play pink noise, can I see the dip?
You will, but you're going to have to be able to disconnect one of the channels because when you put the two channels back together, you have to be like there's a little device that some friends of mine made. You guys may have heard of it. It's called the IRTA2.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool piece.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you can use that piece in order to shut one channel off at a time in order to see that sum. So you can actually do it with the DMRTA also with the IRTA, or if you want to physically be able to disconnect a wire from your input, you can see it that way as well.
Okay.
But you'll see the dip without a doubt and be able to apply it.
There again, this is one of those. That's why it's off.
Super advanced. That's
why
right.
it's off from default because most applications you're not going.
So basically, if your system is sound great right now, you don't even have to touch this.
Nope.
Right?
No, but people are always going to be like, "What does this do?"
Well, and that's why it's hidden in the menu because we quickly determined that this was a pro level feature.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that. Moving down.
Yep.
Moving down.
Yep. Moving down.
So just probably one of the biggest changes at the bottom.
And before we jump, I saved some questions that you guys asked already. So as soon as
we'll get through this,
we can go through that. Yeah, we're gonna answer some questions.
So the top we're done with. We've got all the new features. All right, so let's get down into the nitty gritty. Can I just click this?
You can. You can just click the RTA button now, and it will make it full size on the screen for you.
And it doesn't just default and fall away and disappear magically.
Nope, it doesn't. Here is where you have the ability to adjust the sensitivity of the input RTA. 50 dB, 60, 70, 80, 90 across the screen. You have the ability to adjust the resolution speed, fast, medium, or slow. You also have the ability to look at pairs of channels in stereo format, channel 1, channel 2, and you also have the ability to separate them into left and right channels as well.
So this is going to make this more or
The
less.
lower you go, the more sensitivity it is.
And it's on slow, which I like.
You're also seeing your crossovers applied on the screen.
Yes. So we're working with the tweeter right here.
Yep.
So there's fast, there's medium, this is slow. This is pink noise, so this makes it, and there's no curve. So
now the next bar over, when it says 1, 1-2, and 2, if it's in the middle, that means you're doing stereo EQ. If it's on either one of the sides, that means you're doing a left channel only or a right channel only for your tweeters. When you do this, go back 1 second. We need to get out of this screen so I can show you something. Once you select individual channels, if you go back up to your out signal summing, now you have independent left and right output gains as well.
Eduardo.
So and independent mutes.
Now if you have one side of the card louder than the other, you can adjust this here. This is really good for actually adjusting the center image, because I've heard guys go, "Oh, I set time correction and it's off. I need to add another 2 milliseconds." Your speakers didn't move. 9 times out of 10, it's a level intensity difference. So adjust the level.
Yeah. You mean it's 32 inches away, but if I add it 34 inches away,
no.
Really?
Use the output level.
I think the tape measure
to
is broken.
move the actual image over by doing level control.
That was my first introduction to Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. The speakers didn't move.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go back to full screen here, and we're on 1, and now when we switch over to 2, there's no adjustment.
Correct.
And we would never make the adjustments that I made on these.
Here's a little nugget for you. If you looked at any of the older software, the dots and the number corresponding to the frequency never lined up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was something that drove me absolutely nuts one day. We're in a meeting, and I spoke up about it because I was like, 10K is here, but the dot's like over here. Like, I need them to all be like vertical. So we had all these little nitpicky things.
Because they were italicized.
I get it, but it was it was all these little nitpicky things. Matt had his little things that he wanted fixed. I had my things. Then guys like you had your things. And
speaking of things,
look at that mute button.
And mute for each channel.
Yeah.
When you separate them out, now you can mute each channel instead of a pair.
So the reason why this is important for you guys at home and why I fought for this so hard is that when you're tuning a car, if you tune left and then you turn right, through all your speakers, typically what you're going to do when you start is I go through and I shut down every speaker except for the one that I'm dealing with. It's going to be the passenger front tweeter is where I'm going to start. When I'm done with that, I need to mute it, and then I need to switch on the other speakers so that I can hear that. And then when I'm done, I want to play both of them at the same time. And having to do this, and then do this, and then go here, and it drove me nuts. So you're welcome.
So go back 1 second. Let me show you something else that we fixed.
Of course.
So go back over here to the sliding bar. It used to take 10 rolls on my mouse to move that screen.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Now it's literally swipe, and you're at the top and bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So it's little features like that.
The best was, and you're going, please don't crash, please don't crash.
Yep.
Okay. Anyways.
So now that action's been fixed as well. So
bypass shuts it off.
Bypasses the equalizer.
Auto.
Matt, you want to cover auto?
Sure. Yeah. So auto is basically used for essentially flattening that or trying to compensate for the incoming signal. So it's going to take a look when you're playing pink noise, just like this shows on the little pop-up, which is black, not transparent. It's opaque. And you can see what that signal is coming in. Basically, we're using the built-in electrical RTA to analyze the incoming signal and then essentially trying to correct for it and get it back to somewhat flat. Obviously, it's never going to be usually perfectly flat, but pretty close. What's cool about this too is you can choose to run it once. You can run it multiple times. I know lots of guys that have just gotten into practice of running it 2 to 3 times, and it does a lot of the work for them. So I know your signal coming in right now is flat, so it's not going to be a great demo for this, but that's how it would be used. And of course, if, every once in a while I hear somebody say, hey, it did this weird thing when it did its EQ, and I didn't like the way it sounded. Okay, well, you absolutely don't have to use it. You can certainly EQ it yourself. You don't have to use auto to correct it. A lot of times people need to remember that these OEMs put tens, thousands, millions of dollars into tuning that factory system, trying to make it sound good for that car's cabin. And sometimes you might not need to mess with it that much. So, something to keep in mind.
We did a live where we had a Honda and we flattened out the factory curve. And so we had the DMRTA showing what it was looking like. And it was great because we could show it correcting it brought back all these things that it had actually removed. So sometimes the manufacturer's done some of the work for us. Sometimes, not all the times. So, but that's the joy of being able to see the electrical and the acoustical at the same time. And you can do that because you have the electrical happening here, the acoustical if you have a DMRTA. All right, so we're going to click no.
Then you can go flat. Anytime you want to start over with your equalization, you can totally hit that and go back. Now, this is the one thing that the equalization cannot do. If you tune the left channel and then tune the right channel. If you go back to 1 and 2, now it's going to ask you if you want to copy from the even channel back to the odd. So that's not going to maintain.
You can't have all three.
Yeah, you cannot have all three. You either have to stay stereo or you have to stay separate left and right equalization.
So if you're tuning it, my trick is if I tune for 1 and I've summed them back together, so now they're both playing, is if let's say I had a peak here at 8K, is I will go 1, 2, 3, and I will come over to here, and it's already highlighted, and I'll go, oh, my button broke today, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, and I'll bring them down, and that way I can keep going back between 1 and 2 in whatever channel it is to maximize that. That's the
yep.
Okay, so
graphic EQ. So previously you had 10-band graphic, 14-band graphic, and 30-band graphic. Most people never use 10 and 14-band graphic. If you want an EQ of that sort, we have plenty of in-dash EQs for that. These are big boy toys, right? So we got rid of all the other ones, and now we've added parametric equalization. Now, for those of you at home who do not have an actual DM DSP or D-series amplifier, there are certain features that do not work properly unless you're actually connected to a device. If you click on the parametric EQ, if you're not live connected to a device, switching between the bands does not work properly. So just be mindful before you guys go flaming us on the internet. Oh, this doesn't work. No, you have to be connected to a live device. The other thing is that when you're doing parametric equalization, and if you know how to actually figure out the frequency in which you want to adjust the EQ, instead of you having to minutely move your slider around, you can simply see the gray box at the bottom, double click that gray box, and type in the number that you want. What just happened up there?
Oh, my laptop went to sleep.
Okay. So you can totally type in whatever frequency you want and go directly to that frequency.
Oh, hit the wrong button. Okay. Yep, 8K.
Right. So instead of you trying to magically find it, you can use that at the bottom. That was something that I believe in our little private group, I think Mark was asking about being able to go specifically to a frequency. That's exactly how you do it. You just type it into the little gray box at the bottom, and you're good to go. You can adjust the Q by either dragging the 2 red dots or by adjusting the slider or double-clicking on the value at the top in order to adjust the Q for that parametric band.
Now, one of the things about a parametric EQ that a lot of people freak out about is you say, oh, it's only 15 bands, the other one is 30 bands, blah, blah, blah. As you notice while I was playing with this, I've just grabbed one band here, and I'm moving it wherever I want it to go. So as this being a tweeter, I have 15 bands that I can apply to adjust a tweeter.
10 bands.
Yeah, it's almost useless. You'd never do that.
What? Put all 10 bands into a
tweeter?
All
15 bands into a tweeter.
Oh, no, it's only 10. But yeah.
Oh, 10 bands, sorry.
You would never. Typically with the tweeter, in all the tuning that I do in vehicles, in a tweeter, predominantly, I may get 5 at the most.
Wow.
And that's if I'm trying to hit a specific target curve, right? I may get up to 5 at the most. Yep.
Yeah, and so now you've got 10 bands of parametric per output channel. So yeah, on a DM810, you've got 20 bands of parametric, or 20 parametric EQs basically going on there to mess with. There's a lot of tunability in there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that they've been accustomed to parametric EQs from day one. The bass in your factory radio, the treble in your factory radio, the mid-range in your it's an extremely wide Q for 100, for a 10K, for a 1K that adjust all these other frequencies around it. You just don't have the adjustability of it. So that's where a 30 band really blew a lot of people's minds, having all these individual frequencies, whereas a parametric can be really narrow Q or really wide Q in order to adjust more frequencies around it.
So as you see, just to give you an idea of Q, so I'm going to pull up because it makes it. So I have a wide Q, and it's pulling all those frequencies up. And if I make a narrow Q, it's just affecting it's affecting just my center point more.
Correct.
So it's finding that balance between the two. And that's why working with a parametric EQ can be easier, because you can address a bigger problem without having to adjust
Correct.
each one of these little 30 thingies.
Yep.
Thingies. They're new. They're thingies now.
Thingies. Sliders. Bars.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little smiley faces.
Cool. Anything else on the EQ?
You tell me.
No, let's move on. There's a couple things in the output view screen we want to go over.
Okay.
Oh, RTA memories. Slide back up. RTA memories. This is where here.
Sorry, I'm coming down.
So RTA memories. This is where you can actually store the RTA curve of what you've tuned for a left tweeter and compare it to a right tweeter. If you want to compare,
It's kind of like taking a screenshot.
Exactly. This is just like how the old 3055 used to work. You could take all these samples and go back and look at them, and then you can even average them together to see what your overall output electrical curve here actually looks like. There's also the house curve that used to be in the DSPs has been removed because
this back area here.
Because the house, exactly, that's the previous channel.
Yeah, it kind of ghosted in there.
Yep. So the house curve was removed because the house curve is an acoustical measurement, not an electrical measurement. So actually trying to adjust our EQ to match that electrical house curve was really pointless. So we removed that, and it's only in the DMRTA for you to make that tune with.
Cool.
All right. So dashboard view. So this is the overall. So for you as an installer, you guys have used this product in a long time. What did you use dashboard view for?
I never used dashboard view. I lived in input and output view, and I know there's overlapping features between the two.
Yep, it's a one screenshot for almost everything.
As a visually impaired individual, I want the biggest. I want big buttons.
Yep. So yeah, it was just a global look at everything. It was literally for you to look at your output RTA, your EQ, all of your adjustments. I mean, everything from the input view and the output view all at one time.
Yeah.
Right, on one screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people that live in this view. I'm not that guy.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody's got their preference. There's no right or wrong answer, but yeah, everybody's got their way of doing it.
For sure.
Okay, so question time? You want to hit some questions?
Yeah.
Are we good? Do we got anything else?
Do you guys got anything?
I mean, there's going to be another video that we're going to post on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
I mean, if people really understand the amount of time that's gone into this, the amount of feature changes, you don't even hear the fan whirling inside.
Oh, no, yeah.
That thing used to spool up like a turbo, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
So the resources, that have been changed in the unit. Someone asked earlier, does this fix the AcBT24? The AcBT24 works so much better with this new software.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
So much better.
Matt, how many times have you told people, yeah, it's a cool piece, but don't use it? I mean,
a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, a lot. I mean, as somebody that did a lot of the training, like I just started telling guys, like, hey, it's great for streaming your audio. If you absolutely refuse to go buy a laptop, okay, I guess, but be prepared for, playing with Bluetooth connectivity. And now it's like, it's damn good. And something that we didn't talk about that's really cool with the BT24 is if you are a laptop user, like my MacBook, I think it's a Mac only thing, actually, if I recall, you can now Bluetooth from a Mac laptop to our BT24 for tuning and setup. It used to only be for mobile devices, and now you can do it even with a laptop. And another kind of the flip side of that is that we also added a feature where if you are an Android tablet user, you can get yourself a USB, probably USB-C for most modern tablets, USB-C to USB micro, plug it into your tablet, plug it into your DM608 or whatever, and launch the app, and it will communicate via the cable. So if you had the BT24 and you hated it, but you're like, hey, I don't have a laptop, I have this tablet, cool. You can have the same experience as a guy with a PC or Mac laptop on your Android tablet and go totally mobile and not have to worry about using a laptop or whatever. So
cool
it's some pretty cool new stuff we built in. And like Jeff mentioned too, I mean, there's a long list of improvements and glitch fixes and bugs and stability improvements and reliability and performance. And I mean, some will watch this video and go, they didn't change that much. For those that are people that have used this a lot or installers that install our products a lot, they're going to notice a big difference.
100%.
Huge improvement.
I would also tell you that when you start connecting things via the USB-C cable and things like that, and you're ordering these extra cables, make sure you're getting a quality cable. When we were doing testing, I was like, I got this cable from Amazon. It just doesn't work. This feature doesn't work. And then Matt showed me the one that he had, and I went out and found that one. And once I plugged it in, boom, it worked instantly. So it was just a poor quality of cable that I had picked up off of Amazon.
All right, so before we answer the questions, I want to back up to the beginning where we talked about...
Hi, my name's Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. A lot of the safety features that are now built into this.
Yes.
And so let's go over some of those real quick.
So let's show you one real time. So which one's USB? So let's say you just happen to disconnect the USB mistakenly.
It's right here.
Yep. So what's going to happen is as soon as it's going to give you connection has been lost, check your connections and wait while the app tries to reconnect. So all the tuning that you've done would typically now be out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when I take a break.
Right? So now what you do is don't press OK.
Yep.
Plug the USB back in.
Now I can click OK.
And now you can click OK.
This would be the same as turning the car back on.
Exactly. The car's timed out. Your laptop has died. Whatever else.
Yeah.
It's going to hold everything in a temporary file until that DSP completely shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
If that DSP completely shuts down, everything you haven't saved is gone. But at least it holds it in enough time for you to figure out, oh crap, I unplugged the USB. Oh crap, hit the push the starter button again, or hook up the battery charger, whatever, as fast as you can, so that it's not all lost.
Okay. And then what else? Is that it?
Then from there, you already know how to save everything. You can save all those presets and things like that.
Yep.
So there's a difference between File Manager. There are site files. Site files are the files stored directly on your machine, right? So once you tune a car, label it, CHR with Moscone 530 and whatever, blah, blah, blah. You save that. So that way, when you go to upload another vehicle, bam, boom, you already know, tuning's already done. You can share that file with your buddy across town or whatever else and, make it work. That's the beauty of DSP, is that if you save the files and if you do semi-repetitive work, you're going to reduce the amount of what ifs if you already know what that car sounds like with relatively, similar equipment. So here's one last thing.
Yep.
Help. I believe it's, go to help and send bug report, right? Send bug report is where we ask you when you have a problem. It can look through your machine and see what issues that you've had, and you can send those in, and they go directly to the engineering team, and it will log all of these in a file every time there's a disconnection, power loss, or any other thing that happens. So before everyone goes flaming on the internet, oh, this happened, blah, 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 just send a bug report, and it'll go straight in.
Okay.
Yeah, you complaining on Facebook doesn't get things fixed nearly as fast as sending us a bug report does.
Right?
I promise. The bug reports go straight to the software team and CC a bunch of other people in that process to where someone can actually address it and fix it. If you just want to complain about it, I guess, whatever. But if you want to actually see it fixed, like, hey, help us out. Send a bug report, and we'll get it fixed.
Online.
Yeah.
We're and it has to wait. We have to wait. If we see it on a Thursday, we have to wait till the next week to get into the engineering meeting to go, oh, one person said this. So this is the easiest way to get information back to us by using all the tools built into the software.
You could also use that bug report to just send us a message and tell us how awesome it is and how appreciative you are, how great this is. That's cool too. I mean, we wouldn't cry about it.
Oh, killer. Slow down.
I know, wishful thinking, right?
Yeah. No, nothing but hate.
Yep.
All right, what else you got, Fernando?
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see.
Give them to me. Was anything done about the higher than normal noise floor on the DM DSPs? Go.
I'll take that one. So with this, there was the first kind of version of DM 608 and 810, there was a fairly high noise floor. I think a lot of first, generation DSPs had fairly high noise floors as well, especially if you try to crank up the outputs really high. So what we've done is there was a revision of the DM810, especially. That was the one that was really sticking out in people's minds a couple of years back. It's probably 2 or 3 years ago now, where this was fixed long ago. Power supply changes and some other changes internally. It was just a rolling change revision, though. We don't really advertise that stuff or talk about it a lot, but we do make those changes. So with this, this has already been resolved. The other thing to keep in mind is even though you just got a brand new DM810 a week ago and whatever, you still think it has a high noise floor, check what your amplifiers can handle for RCA line in voltage. And inside of every DM608 and 810, you can take the cover off. There is, little jumpers in there. We can move those up a little bit. And if your amps will take it, these DM products will put out up to 10 volts of RCA line voltage. So if you have an amp that can take that, like an AudioControl LC series amp, you can crank these things up and not have to turn up the sliders and software anywhere near so high. It's like engaging a line driver. So just a little pro tip that I know Dean loves.
Do you remember the D4800 automatically started off at plus 12?
No.
Right?
No.
So all that's been completely changed. Like Matt said, there's so many rolling changes that have happened along the way.
Yes.
But yeah, knowing what your products downstream can handle is always important. You don't want to overcook them.
Is the milk indicator light function off of input 1 and 2? Why is the default for 1 and 2 set to tweeter when the recommended test tone to use with the milk light is 40 to 1,000 hertz?
Well, remember that inputs 1 and 2 can also be inputs 1 and 2 on RCA.
Right.
Okay? You can use, when you're setting gains, be mindful of this. Setting gains, you need to use a frequency that is within that pass band. Okay? So you can use, if your tweeters are crossed over at 3K, try to use something around 4 or 5K, something in the middle of their pass band. If your mid-range is crossed over from 3K back to 300, try to use something like 1,000 that's right in the middle of that pass band. You want to do that for each pass band, not just one frequency for the entire unit, because once you apply those crossovers, that frequency is out the window.
Well, the other thing sorry, go ahead, Matthew.
I was going to say, I think the 40 and 1,000 thing just comes from like a muscle memory industry standard. It's like, if you're putting in a subwoofer and you're going to use a test tone, subs play, whatever, 20 to 80 hertz, let's use 40. If you're putting in a full range system, they're thinking like 80 hertz on up to 20K, use 1K, right? It's just like those old standbys. It's like telling people to turn up the volume to 75% and it should be unclipped. It's not really that true, but it's just something people have been told forever. Right. Yeah. It's just one of those things, though, that people have been told for so long that they just assume it. But now with systems that are active and have all these different channels and all this stuff, the old 1K or 40 hertz thing doesn't really apply. If you have a set of coaxials and a subwoofer, okay, sure, use 40 hertz and 1K. But if you're getting into some active stuff, it's going to be a little different.
Well, and the other thing, too, is like we have the electrical RTA input. And like right now I'm playing pink noise, so we can get a good idea of what the signal looks like coming into the DSP. And this is obviously relatively flat. Mm-hmm. However, if you're high leveling it in from a factory radio, we can take a look at all the dips and valleys in that EQ that's happening. And if at 1,000 hertz it's to the floor, which a lot of the times it is, if you use that as a test tone, you're screwed.
Yep.
Because you're just going to, so your input RT is what you really need to keep an eye on before you start worrying about what test tones I need to run. Because if those frequencies aren't even there, think about a Honda. If you use 40 hertz to adjust the subwoofer, there's not even 40 hertz in the car.
Yep.
So this input RTA is a blessing and an easy thing to look at right off the bat before you start doing anything. You can get an idea of what the heck is coming into this. So always keep that in mind before you go, I'm going to adjust my gains. No. Use frequencies that are actually there.
Right.
I have a question. I've got a DE5-1300. So 100 watts times 4. How do I adjust the gain level? So say you have a lower watt speaker.
Well, Chris, you have to remember that wattage on the amplifier is like the speedometer in your car. You don't turn on an amplifier and it's automatically 100 watts. Like you don't start your car and it goes 200 miles an hour as soon as you turn the car on. So you have to. Yours does? Oh, it's a Mustang.
It's a
So
Mustang.
I forgot you're a Mustang.
I was going to say, Jeff's driving nicer cars than I am. If his
You gotta hold on tight.
Just saying.
So Chris, that 100x4 is dependent upon the signal of the music you're listening to, because remember, music is dynamic. So you have lots of up and down sine waves going through, or audio waves. So that output is going to fluctuate constantly, along with the impedance of the driver fluctuating. So the output capability is capable of 100 watts by 4, maybe even a little bit more, but you're not going to always get that output dependent upon the music program that you're listening to.
Plus, this slider right here, as you notice, I'm turning up and down. This is your input sensitivity, which all products have. You can easily turn it down, and that will reduce the amount of power going out of the amplifier.
Right. That's translated input signal to output power.
Yeah. So you have a down button. Christian, thank God you asked a question.
Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
Can the ACR3 be updated? Hardwire with endpoints versus it? No,
that's a physical change. It's a not a potentiometer. It's a rotary encoder.
Christian, if I have my way, we're going to get an ACR 5.
Yep.
I want an ACR 25.
All right, I'll have an ACR 50 then.
I'm just going to call mine the Infinity now. Maybe a future update should have installer-only accessible functions. That way, a consumer can't get in. Okay, so we actually have this already.
Yes, we already have this.
Yeah, we have a password.
Yeah, so you can shut down the unit with the password. You can go beyond. You can change the 1, 2, 3, 4. Or, Leslie, you can actually give the customer access to their DSP or DM through the app that's called DM Control. And then that way they only have volume, sublevel, and preset adjustability at that point in time. So they can't go in and screw up what you've already done.
You do need the AC, you need the Bluetooth adapter for the controller. But if you change the password from 1, 2, 3, 4 to anything you want, keep out, you're rocking.
Just do the biggest high top security 4, 3, 2, 1. They'll never get into it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Just change. Yeah, exactly.
4 zeros.
Number 8.
They'll guess 4 zeros.
Number 8.
Oh, I know. It's.
You're connected. Never mind.
So I did see a comment earlier. I'll answer real quick too. I saw somebody say, "Oh, it's still not up and live yet." It absolutely is. It went out. Marketing emails went out. Social media posts, all that stuff.
No,
of course, the slideshow, and then this also. Yeah, it's also on the website, ready to go. So.
Perfect.
All right. This. Let's go back to that picture there. There we go. Oh, no. Yep. Well,
all right.
Technical difficulties.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What did I do? Oh, I put that to sleep.
All right. I have this one.
Okay.
Be cool if the DSP amps and processors had the ability to load preset crossover points for the audio control speakers without having to go super deep into the setup. Dad's RC Garage, they're already set up. As soon as you power up the new software, all the preset crossovers are 100% already good to go for any of the P&W full range drivers, space subwoofers, spike subwoofers. We were already ahead of the game on that guy.
Yep. Okay. And a question that says center is mono or up mixed. It is mono.
All right, got another one.
Big one. Before we get into the software, now that AudioControl has speakers, I want to run 3, if I can, spike SPK8s under the seat of my 2022 2500. Are there going to be restrictions under the seat that hurt performance? Larger box mentioned. I just want to. So, Michael, that before you even get to selecting a driver, the first thing I would tell you to do is to, if you're going to build your own enclosure or have a professional build an enclosure for you, is to figure out the amount of airspace that is available for that enclosure. That, in my mind, will dictate what subwoofer you are going to put under that seat. Yeah, you don't want to deep fry or saute them, but that's going to be a combination between having the proper airspace and selecting the right amount of power for those 3 drivers that you would like to have in your system as well.
All right.
How do you identify if you have an all-pass filter in your OEM source unit 2021 GS era non-pose? So this requires a lot of skill and some tools. Hopefully you have IRTA2 from these guys here, and you have an iPhone, iPad, something with an electrical RTA app or DMRTA, or an AC device with an input RTA. You have the ability to take 2 like channels, front tweeter, front mid basses, front mid range, whatever it may be, and run them into the unit at the same time. When you have the 2 paired together, you would see a dip in the frequency response. Okay? This is an electrical measurement, not an acoustical measurement. If you have this dip, and when you look at the left channel, the dip doesn't exist. You look at the right channel, the dip doesn't exist. When you put the 2 together and the dip happens, this is where you would know that there's an all-pass filter.
We do have a great video of that on the DNF tool drawer.
You guys should make a video for
We
this.
do already have it. It already exists.
Yeah.
It already exists. So you can get an idea. You can get an idea of what it looks like from that video and understand the concept behind it. Anything else, Fernando? All right, here we go.
It was mentioned that the DM DSP can be changed to output 10 watts. Oh, 10
He means 10 volts.
Yeah. Can all
Yeah.
amplifiers handle that input, Matt?
Almost. So every audio control, let's call it audio control mobile audio amplifier, yes, except for the ACX series. So the ACX series are a little bit more of a traditional car audio amplifier. So those are the only ones in our lineup that don't take in up to 40 volts of high level input, and they don't take in up to 10 volts of low level input. But the ACM, LC, and D series will all take up to about 10 on RCA and up to about 40 on speaker level.
There you go. And just to finish it up, there we go.
Jeff. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and read that.
Jeff, hope this deduces the haters out there. Just finished installing the new software and everything went as planned. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Look at that.
Yeah, there's what is this?
That's for you from Fro.
Dude.
Just open it up.
If it's for, I already know what it is. I already know what it is. God, dude, I'm doing so good. Come on, dude, I'm doing so good right. I'm 7 pounds down.
Ooh. I wasn't going to give it to you.
I'm going to ship these straight home to the kids.
That's probably
Yeah, bro, I'm doing good, man. I'm 7 pounds down. I'm going to look super sexy next time.
Not anymore.
Thanks, bro.
All right, guys. I mean, we can go on and on.
No, we're not. We're wrapping up.
We're
Already 12 minutes past our time. Thank you guys so much for spending your day, your evening, your time with us. Make sure to head over to the website, download the new software, play with it a little bit. Like you said, when you're playing with the Parametric EQ, it is not going to work properly unless it is connected to a device.
Some of the titles act weird too.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, and like the auto feature doesn't show up at all unless you're plugged in.
Yep. I'm going to make a video that'll be out shortly, and then we're going to make we're going to break it down into smaller videos. But yeah, just be on the lookout for that.
All right.
And that's all we got for you. Thanks so much. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
And that's all we got. So you guys go forth, be merry, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Bye, guys.
See you.